And the thing to do, it seems to me, is to prepare yourself so that you can be a rainbow in somebody else's cloud. Somebody who may not look like you, may not call God the same name you call God, if they call God at all, you see? And may not eat the same dishes prepared the way you do, may not dance your dances or speak your language, but be a blessing to somebody.
Welcome to the first presentation of Voices Unheard, Stories Untold. This is Carlin Judd, founding artistic director of Vusu Presents, and I am excited to present our first podcast installment. Voices Unheard, Stories Untold is a multimedia theatrical collective whose sole purpose is to bring untold stories to the forefront, highlighting inclusivity in storytelling, accessibility to theatrical arts, and a focus on unique and oft-overlooked original source material and talent. At Vusu, we strive to hear all voices, not just the loudest ones. Now please welcome our resident director and dramaturg, Tristan J. Shuler.
Hello, everyone. We are so happy to be here. This is Voices Unheard, Stories Untold, a new multimedia theatrical collective. And this is our inaugural podcast, our inaugural visual podcast episode. I'm so happy that you all are here. We have been working so hard putting this together, and we have such wonderful artists who are donating their time to be a part of this. Like I said, and like Carlin said, thank you so much for that awesome introduction. We strive to hear all voices, of Voices Unheard, Stories Untold. We strive to attain true inclusivity, true diversity, something that I stand for as an artist myself, and you'll see everyone who we've brought on tonight feels the same way. In the last couple years, things have been crazy. We've watched political election campaigns where people don't know how to discuss disagreements anymore. Hate has grown so vastly in our country and globally, truly, and it's almost impossible to have conversations with people who disagree with us anymore. Now, this is a social experiment, what we're doing tonight, and what we've been doing for the last month or so, and I hope that it might be something we can continue with. But so many of my friends on all different sides of the spectrum, politically and socially, constantly say, I just don't get it. I just don't get what they're saying. I can't hear them. I can't listen to them. They're crazy, blah, 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 on all different sides. And this is our attempt, I think, at separating identity from opinion, perhaps hearing the words without blaming the person, on all sides. But we have an awesome show for you tonight. I want to give out a few shout outs and thank yous. I want to thank our artistic director, Carlin Judd. He is absolutely amazing, and he is the founding artistic director of Voices Unheard, Stories Untold. I want to also thank our amazing streaming director and production manager, Melissa Erickson. We have her right over here. Melissa, can we see you?
Oh my gosh, yes. Hello.
Melissa is with Contemporarily Basic Productions, but she is anything but basic. And we are so happy to have her here and to be, I'm honestly blessed to be streaming with you. How are you feeling tonight?
I'm actually excited I put on pants for this, so I'm ready. This gave me a reason for this season. But it's always a pleasure. I know that this has been something that we've talked about for a long time, for almost over a year or two now. So it's been really fun to actually see this in action, to be able to put together everything that you see here is original, down from music to footage to everything that you've created to the talent that you've brought on. So I'm just excited. I'm going to turn it over to you because you're a star. And thank you, Tristan.
Oh, so happy to have you, girl. We have an awesome show for you tonight. Nicole, Vanessa, Ortiz, and Cartreze Tucker are here. Cue the applause. We also have awesome B-roll footage by Elliot P. Isaac and Melissa Erickson herself. Original underscoring music by David Frank Long. And we cannot thank also Andrew Allen enough for our awesome logo and branding content. Is there anything else I have to do? Oh, yes. Let me explain what you're going to see tonight. Tonight We have 3 segments to share with you. Like I said, we've been reaching out to people of all different demographics, all different ages, races, cultures, genders, gender identities, sexualities, all of these things to get as much feedback and as much opinion as possible. A lot of things you'll see and hear tonight from the artists are not necessarily what they believe, but they are reading and saying the things that the data that we've collected. Now, our first segment is going to be amazing, and it is a game show format of 4 of my awesome friends and 4 amazing artists who are going to be competing to figure out what these people said. We surveyed 100 people. Some of you watching might be some of the people who we surveyed, and we're so thankful that you donated your opinion and your time to us. But we will be having a game show with my 4 awesome friends and artists, figuring out what the people said. Our second segment, what I'm so excited for, is a 100% real conversation held between 2 anonymous people, cold read by actors Nicole, Vanessa, Ortiz, and Cartreze Tucker. And our third segment is a published monologue from a beautiful play, which we'll talk about later, where 18 to 20 beautiful actors from all over the world and all over the demographic spectrum have submitted their performances of this monologue to share with you tonight. And all of these things are actor-centric because I am an actor, and a lot of my friends are actors, and we are currently struggling and out of work due to the coronavirus pandemic. So I will bring it up later as well, but if you want to donate anything to these artists or these efforts that we're doing tonight, the Venmo for us is at Vusu_presents, and I will make sure that you enjoy the rest of the night before you give us your money, but we would love for that. Is there anything else I have to say? I want you to comment below. We want this to be the most interactive live stream possible tonight. Ooh, Pam Trotter is excited to see and hear. Pam Trotter is one of our awesome, awesome actors in our monologue. So is Bwala Shasanga. Thank you guys for being here. Let's get started. Stay tuned for a cold read later, but let's do our first segment. We interviewed 100 people with an awesome survey that our artistic director created and sent it out to so many different wild Facebook groups to get the most diverse answers possible. But today we will be discovering what those 100 people said in this survey, what they said. First, we're going to introduce our first contestant, who is a dear friend of mine. She is a recent small business owner of 1865 Vintage, an online shop where she sells acid-washed, tie-dyed, and thrifted pieces. She is a proud core leader of the group Everybody Black, which is a Black women and femme-led group advocating for Black people across all facets of the American theater community. She is a Gemini, but has no idea what that means because she doesn't read astrology and she is very single. She is my favorite theater maker. Let's welcome Tiffany Renee Thompson. How are you, Tiffany? How are you, my favorite Gemini?
I'm good. I swear I'm everybody's favorite Gemini because nobody likes us. I don't know why, but no one likes us.
Listen, my boyfriend's rising is Gemini, and you can tell.
I don't know what you're saying in that. But you're welcome.
Thank you so much. We're going to introduce our next awesome contestant. He is appearing on a new series, The Art of Blowing It, on YouTube, currently streaming as an over-the-top gay friend and casting director, Milo. And he is also in the upcoming season of Demon Doctor 2. This is my dear friend and wonderful artist, Nicholas Barnes. Let's bring Nicholas Barnes up. Mr. Times Square!
What's up? We can never go back to before. Take a look, because it's about to go away.
Ooh.
Boom!
Time travels. Time changes.
That's a very nice way of putting it.
Well, you look beautiful, and we're so happy you're here tonight, Nick.
Thank you, my love.
I want to introduce our third contestant tonight. You can find her at her Instagram right below here to book her, but she is the founder of Storm Fitness. She is also my current personal trainer. So if you want to look like me, hit her up. This is Melora Storm. You are muted, Melora. Let me get some of your unmutes.
No, I'm not. Hey, what's up?
How you feeling tonight?
I'm great. We're ready to go.
We're so happy to have you.
So happy to be here.
All right, I'm going to introduce our last but definitely not least contestant. He is last seen touring in Dogman the Musical and Apex Follies. You can follow him at his Instagram below. Thank you guys all for these comments, by the way. Keep them coming. But this is my dear friend, Cliff Sellers.
What up? Hey, everybody.
We're so happy to have you, Cliff. How you feeling?
I'm feeling great. I'm ready to win. I've got my game face on.
Oh.
That's all it's about.
Good luck with that.
Well, tonight, like I told our audience friends, we have surveyed 100 people, and the data we're going to be seeing and exploring tonight through our game show. We have 4 questions that we are sharing with you from our survey, and whoever can survive all 4 questions will be winning a bottle of Prosecco. I will be sending to your home because we are socially distant and we cannot drink together.
It's true.
Just hydrating before it comes in the mail.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Obviously, the theme of today's episode is All Lives Matter or All Lives Matter. So our game show questions are definitely going to be relating to the theme of today's show. Are we ready to hop on in?
I'm nervous.
Let's do it.
Amazing. Our first question that we surveyed 100 people for is, I think about blank way too much. We surveyed 100 people, and these are going to be the top 5 answers. All right, so we have to figure out the top 5 answers. We're going to start with Melora. What do you think one of the top 5 answers could be?
Sex.
Sex. I hate to break it to you, but sex is not one of the top 5 answers. We're gonna go up the line here. Cliff, we're gonna give us our second answer.
Food?
Food. I did analyze this data myself, and food was number 6, but it was not in the top 5.
Oh, come on.
Nicholas, what do you think the 100 people think about way too much?
All right. Thanks for taking my answer, Cliff. I'm going to say, and I think everyone's not going to be surprised by this, Facebook.
Facebook. Oh my goodness. You know, I
That's a
think
good
this is going to count because Facebook is a social platform that handles other people. And our 5th answer is other people and other people's problems. That was our 5th answer.
Yes.
And only 7 people, but it was our top 5. So I think social media counts under that. Great job, Nick. You are
the Prosecco.
and you're moving on to the second
Thank
question,
you.
Nicholas. Tiffany Renee Thompson, what do you think people think way too much about?
Money.
Money. You are safe, girl. 12 people out of 100 they think about money, finances, and their career way too much. You're safe for the second question. Melora and Cliff, we're gonna go in between you now. Give us some more answers.
Let's see. I think about like my appearance.
Your appearance. I like this. So this was under because I analyzed this data myself, thinking about myself, critiquing myself. There were some other maybe darker answers, but we had self-criticism, my failures with some of them, how I look, how I feel, what I do. So girl, you are in, my love. Cliff Sellers.
I would say I think about the past too much or the future too much. I don't know if that can be the same answer, but
Yes. So we have the future as one of them.
4th place.
And guys, our number 1 thing that people think way too much about, do you know what it is?
Death? Oh, close.
Wow.
Close.
Yeah. Now, Cliff, I must
close. You're right.
It's very close.
close. Were you gonna say that?
Huh?
Were you gonna say politics, election, and Trump?
No. I'm saying it's close to death, like Tiffany said.
Well, girl, seriously. Cliff, I must apologize because you were the last one to get one of these answers.
Died!
So we are going to kick you out of the stream.
I thought you were waiting for it in the mail.
Prosecco.
Bye.
Hi, Cliff.
Moving on to question number 2. Cliff is gone.
R.I.P.
How many people in
I'll
your
pour you a
life
drink, Cliff.
stopped talking to because of politics in the past 3 years? 100 people were surveyed. Now, my friends, we're going to go through each of these categories, and you're going to guess how many people you think answered that specific question. You're all going to give me a number, and the person who is furthest from the number will get an X. The person with the most X's loses the question. Are we ready? All right. Tiffany, how many people do you think answered that they had stopped talking to no one? They continue to talk to everyone, despite politics in the last 3 years.
I'm gonna say 3 people.
3 people. Oh, 3 people answered none for you. Nicholas, what do you think? How many people do you think have stopped talking to no one?
I'm gonna say 0.
0. Yeah, Nick doesn't have much faith in the human race.
Valid.
Melora,
how many people do you think still talk to everyone despite politics?
Yeah, I was gonna go with 0, so I'll go with like 1.
1. You guys know.
Maybe we're all fail together.
33 people have not stopped talking to a single soul because of politics. Now, Nick, you said 0, right? So
Yeah.
you get our first X of the night, okay? That's okay. Let's move on to the next one. We have 1 to 3.
Bye.
How many people do you think answered they stopped talking to 1, 2, or 3 people in the last 3 years because of politics? Tiffany, you had the closest number last time, so I'm going to have you answer first.
I'm gonna say like 20 people.
20 people have stopped talking to 1, 2, or 3 people. Nick, what do you think?
Ask me one more time. Sorry, I thought I was out.
How many people do you think answered that they stopped talking to 1, 2, or 3 people in the last 3 years because of politics?
I'm gonna say, what did Tiffany say?
20.
20. I'm gonna give it a solid 15.
15. All right, Melora, how many people do you think stopped talking to 1, 2, or 3 people in the past 3 years because of politics?
Like 43.
43 people. All right, you guys ready to find out?
I don't know.
I'm scared.
36 people.
Wait.
36 people stopped talking to 1, 2, or 3 people in the last 3 years. Anyone relate to that?
Wow.
I feel like I slowly drifted away from a couple people that I already was trying to anyways. So.
All right, guys, we're gonna.
I
move
know
to
a lot
4
of people stopped talking to me. I'll say that.
Oh, right.
I'm just
How do you feel about that, Nick?
I mean, it is what it is.
David Frank Long says you guys got to work harder for that prosecco. Come on.
Oh,
I'm working as hard as I can.
Wow, I said we all broke right now. We need it. Well, here we go. We're gonna go to the next segment here. How many people do you think answered they stopped talking to 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, or 10 people? 4 to 10 people in the last 3 years. Melora, you were the closest, so I'm gonna have you answer first.
Can I stick with my 43?
Sure. You can stick with your 43. Nick, what do you think? How many people do you think stopped talking to 4 to 10 people in the last 3 years because of politics?
I'm gonna stick with my number 2.
15?
Yep, 15.
All right, we love it. Locking it in. Tiffany, how many people do you think answered 4 to 10 people?
I'm gonna say 10.
10 people. All right. 26 people stop talking to 4 to 10 people from our survey. Now, I might have to do a little bit of math here real quick to see who's the furthest away. So give me 1 second.
No problem.
Fair enough.
I think it's. Oh, wait, no, because we all kind of are all over the place.
Melora, you are the furthest away from the answer. So you get an X. But that doesn't mean you're out yet. You just get 1 X. We have 2 more categories for you. 11 to 25 people. Like, whoa, who have you been surrounding yourself with that disagrees with you so much that you can't talk to them anymore? But 11 to 25 people. How many people do you think answered?
That's a lot for
that
me.
many people they stopped talking to? Nick, you were closest to the answer last time, so I'm going to have you answer first.
All right, I need, you know what? Just because it's me, ask one more time, please.
How many people do you think stopped talking to 11 to 25 people out of the 100 people that we surveyed?
I'm gonna give it a solid same year as Jesus, 33. Same age as Jesus.
33?
33.
You have no faith in people. Tiffany, how many people do you think stopped talking to 11 to 25 people?
I'm not gonna lie, I'm over here doing the math because that's what I'm working with. I'm looking at the pie chart. I didn't do well in math. I'm looking at the, fractions, and I'm like, what's left? What's left of the pie? What's left of the pie?
Give me an answer. What do you think?
I'm gonna say 3.
3 people. All right, Melora, how many do you think people stopped talking to 11 to 25 people?
I'm gonna say 7.
7 people. Now, this is hard because we live in such a divisive world. And it's so wild that social media has allowed for us to just kind of delete people like this,
I love it.
We're getting in. Right, we got 3 for Tiffany, 33 for Nick, and 7 for Melora. 5. So Melora and Tiffany, you were both 2 away from the answer. And Nicholas, that's your 3rd strike, my love. And you are out. No Prosecco for you. Thank you for playing. We got to go to our second to last question.
Oh my God, 2 Geminis in the final. Take that. Oh, everyone who doesn't like Geminis.
It's crazy. Also, that picture makes me uncomfortable.
All right, friends. Here's our 3rd question. We want to ask, what word comes to mind when you see this image? Now, remember, this isn't what word comes to mind for you. These are 100 people that were surveyed. You are going to go back and forth and list any potential answer. You're going to have 90 seconds to do this. So let me turn on a timer for you. Are you 2 ready?
I think.
As many potential answers. We had 100 people surveyed. You're getting a feel for the demographic of people already with the 2 last questions. So think, just because you believe it doesn't mean that everyone else does, right? What do you think people answered when they saw this image? Tiffany, go first.
Patriotic.
Patriotic, yes. Melora.
Trump.
Trump, yes. Tiffany.
Sellout.
Yes. Melora.
Latino?
Latino, is that one of the answers? No. It is not. Tiffany.
Hate.
Hate is one of the answers? No. Nope. Melora.
Confused?
Confused is one of the answers. Tiffany.
American.
No. That is not one of the answers. Melora.
Un-American.
No. Tiffany.
Republican.
Yes. Melora. What do you think people said when they saw this picture?
MAGA.
Yeah. Tiffany.
Vote.
Boat?
No. Vote, not boat.
Vote. 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 V-O-T-E. No. Melissa. Melora, go.
Election.
No. Tiffany.
Freedom.
No. Melora. What do you
America?
think people said?
America.
No. Tiffany.
Fascist.
No. Melora. You guys are tied.
I don't know. Wrong.
Wrong? No. Tiffany.
Evil.
Evil? No. Melora.
Stupid.
No.
No. Tiffany. We have 5 seconds left.
Racist.
We said that already.
No.
Weird.
No.
Why?
Tiffany.
All lives matter.
Yes. We have all lives matter. Tiffany, you are moving on to our final round. And Melora, do you have any last words?
No. Bye. This has been great. I had the best time. Good luck, Tiffany.
Some of our honorable mentions from our 100 people, we had a lot of different answers in this one. We had diversity. We had future. We had misunderstanding. We had unfrickin' believable. We had sad, but we also had smiles. We had a lot of Ys and WTFs. We had disappointment, and we also had Murica, and we had a lot of patriotism, patriots, and patriotic, which I think one of you answered. So we had a large, vast array of answers for that one, but you guys did great. Tiffany, are you ready for the last question? If you survive this last question, the Prosecco is yours.
I want. Hold on, sorry. Taking after. I'm ready.
All right, here we go. 100 people surveyed. You're going to read every single answer.
Okay.
What do you think of when you hear the words "all lives matter"?
Okay.
Are you ready?
I think so.
All you have to do is read them.
Not the point. Black Lives Matter. Duh. Lord save us. Frustrated. Good intentions. Political. It's a lie. Talk to me. This is equality. Sad. Out of touch. Racism. Equal respect. Help me understand. Ignorant. All that do matter. Often bad intentions. Freedom of speech. Denial. Missing the point. Black Lives Matter. Yes. Delusional. Self-centered politics. Misguided. Me. Agree. Excuses. We want the same thing. Distraction. Black Lives Matter. Black. Ridiculous. Republicans. It's a given. All lives do matter. Stop the bullshit. Why? White people. Radical. Oh, fuck. Ignorant. Not the point. We all matter. All life is precious. Ignorant. Selfish. Reverse. Racism. Unhelpful. Miss the point. Obviously not the point. Defund the police, the way to equality, supremacy, equal is not the same way as equity. Chaos is literally.
Yes! Tiffany, you better kick me your dress. And I'm sending you your Prosecco. Congratulations, you survived. Said that. Yes.
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 Fellow Gemini rising. Thank you for this moment.
Like I said earlier, the last month, 2 months almost, I've been having conversations with such great, willing people to have these conversations and talk with for 30 minutes to an hour with someone who disagrees wildly with their own opinions. Today's topic is obviously All Lives Matter or All Lives Matter. And I was honored to take some time out of people's days to have these conversations so that we can listen or learn to listen, so that we can learn or learn to unlearn. But tonight, we have turned these real life conversations into a script that two amazing actors are going to be cold reading for you. They have never looked at this script before, and they're opening their PDFs right now if they're backstage. And they are going to open this PDF and read these scripts. I'm going to introduce these two people because they are some of my favorite human beings on earth. Two actors who I have been honored and blessed and lucky, honestly, to work with. This first person is a true diva, a diva's wish, someone who honors the legacy of divas of past, music's past. She most recently was the lead in Sister Act at Paper Mill Playhouse. She also was awesome in Ragtime at Serembe Playhouse, which you may have seen her viral video of her belting her ass off singing Your Daddy's Son. But how I know her is from the off-Broadway musical Spamilton, an American parody. This is my Spamil twin, Nicole Vanessa Ortiz.
I'm so glad I'm here and in real time. I'm not moving in slow motion. I don't know if you got my messages while you were over there hosting like Arsenio Hall with all the excellence in the world, but my computer restarted while you were getting the beginning going. So I'm so glad we're here.
Amazing. You look amazing. My God.
Oh, I'm trying. You know, it's hard in a pandemic.
Yeah, amen,
in
girl.
the pandemic,
I wish I looked like you. Who's your trainer? Listen, Melora's good for me, but who's yours?
My trainer, listen, it's a moderation into going vegan. I've actually been trying to do meat once a week so that my body can get into the habit of relying less on it. So I think maybe that has something to do with my skin.
I love that. So how are you feeling about tonight? Did you just open the PDF script of this?
I just opened it. I'm on page 1. If that's a violation, I'll go back to the whole red message that says stop. But I didn't read it. I just read the character names, which I'm gagging already. Like,
amazing.
So typical, these names. I can't wait.
Just to keep it clear, we did change any names or locations that did come up in the conversation, and we changed those to remain and maintain the anonymity of these two people. So we're going to call you guys today Jack and Jill. Exactly. I'm going to introduce our next friend. I love this boy. This is my favorite plant thought ever. Cartreze Tucker has been on the national tours for The Color Purple, Hair, Motown the musical. But how I know Cartreze is I directed him in a beautiful new musical development called Oh My God, Broadway.
Yes.
Director Carlin Judd. But Cartreze, welcome.
Hey, bitch.
How are you feeling?
I feel great.
Do you have our script open tonight?
It's here.
And you've never read it before, right?
I've never. I saw there were pages. There were quite a few pages, and I saw some monologues, honey. So girl, y'all know I went to public school, bitch. So let's see if these literacy skills hold up, honey.
I'm done.
Well, I'm so excited for you guys to be reading this. It was very fascinating to have these conversations with people.
Hey, Nicole.
And yeah, you guys know each other.
We met at the Oh My God Broadway York Theater Workshop. The two of you were in that.
Yeah.
Come on, support is love. I be out here trying to, look out all my other artist friends. So y'all killed that.
Support is love. Support is God. So spread it. Come on.
Oh, Lord.
Well, guys, in our script today, Cartreze, you will be reading for the role of Jack. And Nicole Vanessa Ortiz, you will be reading for the role of Jill. And I just want to say one more time, these conversations were extremely anonymous, and we are maintaining the integrity of their anonymity and thanking them for taking time out of their day to talk with me and talk with each other. All of this is real. Whatever happens, happens. I want us to maintain the integrity of these conversations, but I can't control what happens because obviously these are very divisive topics that we're going to be dealing with.
That's why I got my sippy cup, honey. I'm not ready.
I need some water. Where's my water at?
I just have water.
I might open up.
I got my coconut on deck.
Oh, amazing. Any questions before we begin? Let's jump in.
Okay.
Let's just do it. Let's see what happens.
Yeah,
are you going to be reading the parts that aren't Jack and Jill, I imagine?
I will be here for you. If you have a question, I will be here to support you because support is love.
Okay, no, actually, my question was a bit more transparent. I'm saying if it doesn't say Jack and Jill, are you reading the narrator line?
I will not read any of the stage directions, so you'll just go.
Okay.
There is a moment that you can't miss in the middle of the script that I will say something for. All right?
All right.
So we have an anonymous, real conversation about All Lives Matter, read by Cartreze Tucker and Nicole Vanessa Ortiz for the first time. Thank you guys so much for being here.
Cartreze, I can't stop.
Okay. All right. Okay. Do you want?
I find that all lives matter in my experience.
Okay, I'm gonna let you.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Zoom, right? I wasn't sure if you'd like to go. Really, please.
No. I was really just gonna say if you want to go first, I was gonna let you go first.
So, in my experience, when I hear All Lives Matter, it makes me think of my family members who may not live near an epicenter or a city where things are happening, or they don't understand the connotation that could have because of the experience that I have had with people who are saying that they are the types of people who are trying to exclude certain types of lives, not necessarily just Black lives, but lots of different immigrant lives, women's lives, Those are the types of people who, in my experience, have said all lives matter as a response to Black Lives Matter.
Okay, for me, it's kind of the opposite in a way. Well, first off, the person saying the phrase doesn't change what the phrase is supposed to mean. So, I mean, a person could be an idiot and say Black Lives Matter, or a person can be intelligent and say Black Lives Matter. But that doesn't change the basis of what the thing is representing. Two, so if people who've said all lives matter have been excluding people from that, then that doesn't change the fact of the phrase's definition. What those words are. The words are all lives matter. Just because someone's saying all lives matter and doesn't exactly believe that, that doesn't change the fact that all lives matter, you know? So yeah, it's definitely caused controversy. As a person who, you know, doesn't always agree with Black Lives Matter, it's like you're kind of one person against a hive mind. So it's kind of scary because friends, people who I've known all my life, hear me say the phrase once and then everything they know about me went out the window because of the negative connotations of that phrase. You have to detach yourself from the catchiness of the phrase and get down to what it's actually saying and what it actually means.
And what does it mean to you?
Well, it means what it says. It means that no matter who you are, you have intrinsic value as a human being.
And you don't think Black Lives Matter means that?
No, it says the opposite. It says that Black people are held to a different standard because of some sort of, because of the past, but the past isn't the present. Because people want to believe that we are still being oppressed in some way, that we're being oppressed in the same way that we were. And that's just not true. It doesn't bear out no matter where you go. And as a Black person who's never experienced racism, and as a Black person who has never known another Black person who's experienced racism, knowing racism still exists is kind of jarring. The way that Black people specifically will just ignore the fact that it is completely possible to not be a victim. And a lot of victimhood is in the victimhood mindset. That's a word.
Okay, so no. I'm gonna go back for a second because I'm not sure if I'm saying this word right, dichotomy between the two phrases. And I have definitely experienced differently. Living in New York City, especially, I've definitely viewed with my own eyes how a Black person and a white person and a Latinx person and an Asian person are treated differently by police. 2, 3, I used to work in Times Square. And there's a lot of police that roam around Times Square doing lots of different things for lots of reasons, necessary and sometimes completely unnecessary, but it definitely appears that everyone has a different value based on their skin tone. And sometimes their gender even holds a different value in the eyes of at least police. And I feel like definitely there's something to be said about the Black Lives Matter idea being tied into police, in that it doesn't necessarily have to be both things. They're not mutually exclusive. I also completely recognize that saying Black Lives Matter does have this connotation that says that Black Lives matter more than other things, which just isn't true. The whole idea is all lives matter equally. And that's what we're striving towards. And I think a lot of this can be solved if people, especially when they're speaking at large, like on the internet or on Facebook and things like that, think about intent versus impact, and think about their personal intent and their personal impact. And the idea that the way that you say things matters. Wow. Sorry, that was a reaction. Ooh, let's say that one more time. And the idea that the way you say things matters and how you actually have these conversations matters, because these are not black and white issues, pardon my phrase. These are not simple two-sided issues. This is something that we all need to explore together. And we can't exclude other people. And I do agree that there should be some kind of talking back of the idea that all lives matter excludes anyone, because all lives can't matter until Black lives do.
Okay, let me say though, that obviously as a person who lives in New York, you know that New York is definitely different than the rest of the United States. Not to discount anything you said, but you also have to understand that New York is a very, well, the mindset of a person in New York is very different in all those ways, in that you are very racially focused, which, you know, does lend itself to seeing every situation through the prism of what the skin color of that person in that situation is doing. Every Black person who encounters a white cop isn't arrested because he's Black. That just wouldn't make any sense. And the problem is that when you're so hyper-focused on the skin color of the person in the situation before who that person is, you miss all the important details of that situation, which I think is the biggest problem with Black Lives Matter, is that there are cases in there and most of the movement that are actually genuinely terrible. There are some cases where I've never heard a person answer what a policeman could have done in that situation to keep the Black person from being shot, from being harmed, because the fact of the matter is that Black people are 13% of the population. But they commit around 80% of crime. Girl, that makes no goddamn sense. And that can't be discounted. You have to understand that the police officers don't encounter the 13% of the Black population. Oh God, they encounter the 80% of Black people in the criminal population, because police officers encounter criminals. They answer calls. That's their job. So it gets a little muddy when the first thing you think about when you see a Black person getting shot is that you think that person is Black. Because when you miss the fact that the person had a weapon, you miss the fact that the person is resisting arrest, you miss the fact that the person punched an officer, and then you miss the fact that the person was tased and they weren't responding to a taser, and the list goes on and on.
Yeah. So do you believe or not that there's any truth to the statistics of over-policing communities that have higher Black populations within cities as opposed to in the suburbs?
I think that there is. I mean, the correlation exists, but again, I think there is a bigger picture of high Black communities also being high crime communities, which can be attributed to whatever you think it is. But the fact is that policemen can't get around that.
Why do you think that is?
Why do you think there's a correlation between Black communities and high crime communities?
Because I think that there's definitely a high correlation between historical redlining and voter suppression and putting Black communities in places where they are poor that correlates to modern day lack of funding for education and people unable to break the cycle of poverty within their community. The options are limited for people when they don't have the tools or the money in their preliminary school years to break that cycle. That's where I think it begins, for sure.
I agree with a lot of what you said, but I think in regards to voter suppression, how did we get here? To voter suppression, I do believe that Black people are heavily being, I don't want to say brainwashed, but that might be the word. There is a high history of Black people being pressured. That's the word, pressured to vote a certain way. I think a big problem is that people attribute certain political parties to, oh, this party will save me, even though the party has been in power for however many years, and you are still in a high crime area. You're still in poverty. You're still afraid to vote a different way. The person in power isn't going to stop you from committing a crime. I mean, as far as police enforcement goes, I have never felt unsafe, even knowing the political aspects of the media aspects of what gets publicized, there's a new person every day who is brutalized by a police officer somewhere in the middle of the country. And the fact that there are police officers who are bad don't negate the fact that the police force as a whole is created to protect people. And if they're not doing that, then there are situations that don't include disbanding the police, because there's no other real option that will result in less crime. But yeah.
Okay. So I have a threefold answer to all of that, because when it comes to feeling safe, politically as well with the police, I definitely don't feel safe. As a woman, even a white woman, politically, the laws that are passed and the things that may or may not be enforced, I feel very unsafe about that. And I feel that minority women should also definitely feel unsafe, because anything that can happen to me as a white woman, especially with my healthcare, is going to happen 2 or 3-fold worse in the minority community. So politically, I feel like we need more guidance that is more inclusive of all people. I mean, with the police, personally, as a white person, I had never felt afraid of the police. I have now had my own experiences with the police during the uptick of Black Lives Matter protesting since late May, early June. But until that point, I never had reason to fear. I had definitely spoken to people, and I have witnessed police brutality before this within Black and Latino communities. And it's not my place to say whether or not they should be afraid, but the friends I've spoken to about this have communicated very clearly to me that they were afraid. And I don't think anyone should be afraid of a service or a group of people whose main mantra is to quote unquote protect and serve, and that leads me to touching about disbanding or defunding and what that actually means or could mean. And I think that there's a common misconception that it just means we don't want the police, which is not my experience or my opinion. I just think that the money that goes to weapons and anti-weapons, like protection riot gear and things like that, a lot of that money can go into marginalized communities, or better, retraining officers, longer training. I mean, we are one of the only. The only countries in the world that you don't have to go to school as long as a lawyer or a social worker or people who work with the mentally ill. You would think that a police officer, someone who carries a gun around, would have to have highly trained skills with mentally ill behavior in the law. These are high stakes, high emotions situations with people, Black people's lives on the line. And I think that they are owed the training and the ability to handle them just as much as we are owed people who are trained well enough to handle these situations without leaving innocent people hurt or dead.
And I do agree with that, as far as maybe not a longer length of time, but definitely looking at what happens in those 6 months. I know that the George Floyd incident was due to bad training. It wasn't due to a police officer's malice. It was what he was trained to do.
What?
And I mean, yeah, it's not the best. And that's a local thing. There are things like that aren't widespread among American police officers. And I definitely agree that the better training should always be on the table. However, I will go back and say, as far as politics go, I could not say that as a minority and as a woman that I should be afraid of anything.
So you don't believe that there is any inherent or implicit bias here?
In regards to what?
In regards to race?
Okay, what does that have to do with what we're talking about?
That it's more than just an issue of training.
No.
You know, This has made me feel very angry in the past. And I have tried to move on to compassionate because I'm not necessarily trying to be right or force anyone to agree with me. I think when people do disagree with a lot of what I have to say, it comes to a point of opinion versus fact. And I am always willing to say, okay, we're going to have a difference of opinion and to be able to move past that. But in my experience, I come against people who refuse to admit what facts are, refuse to listen to statistics and published articles and published studies about the things that I'm discussing when I'm just told that's your opinion. When it is, in fact, a fact. That is when I start crossing back into anger. But I have tried really hard to examine myself and how I speak to other people, to anyone, because this has really brought out a lot of strong opinions and strong emotion. And I don't think that anyone is going to change anyone's mind by being mean or angry about it. So I think it's really important to take in everyone's opinion and hope that we can come to a mutual place, because anger is not going to help either of us. Anger is not going to help anything at all.
Yeah, and I think that for me, as a person who's new to politics, because I grew up in the Black community, and I did grow up being affected by heavily influenced decisions, but never really saw the political side of it, which is what I'm learning about now. But as a person who now understands what I understand about a lot of topics like this, disagreeing with people, especially people that I love, it did used to annoy me in some way, because I used to come to people with information, but it wasn't a matter of that information not being true. It was a matter of that person not wanting to hear it.
Yeah.
And that happened way more. That happened way more than I anticipated with people that I knew for a very long time. And that's really just because of what politics does to people. I'm growing up in this community that I have since separated myself from. I understand it because I grew up in it. It doesn't really make me angry anymore. That it actually makes me more motivated to go in the direction that I am going.
We're going to take a pause there. And actually, we're going to move on to a new conversation with two new people. Keep reading for Jack and Jill, but these are going to be new people this time. You guys are doing amazing. How are you feeling?
Ooh, well, I mean, what I'll say first is that doing a cold reading for a white woman who has pretty much, for the majority, similar views to my own as a person of color is relieving. However, what I did notice, and see, I don't know if other people are able to be dishonest with themselves, even though I was doing, I'm sorry, I got distracted by a comment. Somebody said this Black woman is killing with self-hate. I'm not sure what context that was responded from.
No worries.
The character I'm reading was a Black woman.
Oh, so it's two women talking.
Yes, you were playing a white woman, and I was playing a Black woman who was
but we're calling you Jack, which could mean Jackie.
I mean, the names are
I think the names confuse me.
You've had a wonderful, wonderful job just bringing those words to life and giving voices to these people. Anything else to say before we move on to the second half?
Yeah, one thing that cold reading this character is teaching me right now is, although my viewpoints and my perspectives can be rooted with facts, because those facts make me passionate, I tend to mute out the person who's talking that I know already disagrees with me in advance. So I'm not really listening to listen. I'm listening to respond. It's almost like conversational chess. I'm only listening to like keynotes of what he's saying. And that's just with cold reading this person's thoughts that I do actually agree with to an extent, you know?
It's nice to hear people listening to each other, right?
Right.
On that note, let's keep scrolling.
Oh, child, give me a second.
So this is a different conversation.
Yes, this is a different conversation. 2 new people. Keep reading for Jack and Jill. You guys are killing it. Have fun.
All right. Okay. So how does it make you feel when you hear the words Black Lives Matter?
How does it make me feel?
Yeah.
You know, I don't know that I would. That's a great question. I don't know that I feel any way.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with that. Black Lives Matter.
Nice.
I mean, if it's that, just that on the surface, sure.
Is there anything else that's deeper than that?
Ooh, Jill. As an organization, I have questions.
Yeah.
I'm not exactly excited about whatever. I don't know what their mission is, to be really honest with you. I guess what I would ask is, how do I feel? Should I stick to that? I'd like, if you take the Black out of the equation, you know, the race out of the equation, my question to their organization would be, tell me what you've done with all the millions of dollars. What have you done? Have you built a park? Have you put a child through college? Have you built any businesses, whether they're Black owned or whatever, people that have lost them due to the unrest? That's my one question that I'd like to know.
Okay. Well, I always, my response is always yeah. And I feel like I feel like the conservative media always comes up with the best slogans. Like, would you bring up the phrase "All Lives Matter"? Absolutely, yes, 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 yes. Let's take care of each other as much as we possibly can. Yes. And like, it makes me sad that such a good phrase gets turned into something that becomes problematic. And I wish we had better. I wish we had better ways to communicate other than these slogans, because all lives. No one doesn't agree with the slogan "All Lives Matter."
Right.
That's all I want to say, right?
Right.
But because of the people it comes from, when I say the people it comes from, I mean the politicians it comes from. I don't fully believe that the people who say it legitimately, whether they're part of the movement or not, feel like the people who say it genuinely believe it. And that's been my experience anyway. And like, by the way, Jill, you're talking to someone who marches in Black Lives Matter protests all the time, so I can answer any questions you have about what the experience is like. I love your response, because immediately you had these very specific and wonderful concerns, and I'm very here with you. All Lives Matter makes me feel like, yes, and here's what we're working for. Yes, and how do we work for a world where all lives always are treated with the same respect and care? That's what I feel.
Okay. I mean, I've given money to a lot of different organizations, and I march too, Jack. Not for this group. I haven't had the opportunity. I mean, I'm in Arizona, which they do little ones, and that's fine. We applaud them. I mean, they've gone down our street and we applaud them. It's been quiet. It's been peaceful. And we're good with that. The message comes through. But, and there's always that but, isn't there?
Of course. I ain't going to yell at you.
No, I'm not either. No, I might, but not today. There's been puppies on my, but literally looking into it. What do they do with their money? And do all Black Lives Matter? Do Black Lives Matter?
Cool. I hope I can clear some things up. And I want to start by saying that I hear the care and the heart in your questions and the care in your heart that you know that the cause you support is good and is actually helping people. Because the kind of thoroughness is something we need today, everyone. And I appreciate that. So here's the actual word for word mission statement of Black Lives Matter. To eradicate white supremacy and build local power, to intervene in violence inflicted on Black people by the state and vigilantes, by comparing and countering acts of violence, creating space for Black immigration and innovation by improving Black joy. We are winning immediate improvements in our life. That's the mission statement. And when we talk about white supremacy, it's specifically speaking to, it's not to say, that's not to say remove all whites from power. It's never been the goal. That specifically stating, hey, we have been, as in Black people have consistently been kept out of power, away from being able to own homes or the red lighting. We've been kept, even when we've been able to get a decent home, we've been policed or been told to leave, or we've had housing communities that have been built that have bullied us out. When violent crimes happen, justice for color, when violent crimes happen, justice for people not of color is often super swift. I mean, we see comparisons like when one white person is murdered by police, which absolutely happens. We've got some trigger happy police in the country, yes? So it obviously takes like 2 and maybe 5 days, and those police are arrested and put away for a while. When police murder people of color, it can, in the case of Ahmaud Arbery, it took months, and the police hid evidence the whole time, right? So your question about, do all lives matter? Do all Black lives matter to Black Lives Matter? That is a great question. There is and it's not necessarily my problem to speak on, but because this is an anonymous conversation, there is a problem within the Black community where Black men being violent towards Black queer men or Black trans men or trans women. And that is a problem within the community that is continuing to be addressed and is continuing to be fought. And it hurts to see. It really hurts to see.
Wow.
So even just marching and singing Police You. I don't know if you remember not too long ago in New York City where there were police running over protesters with cars, which was horrifying. And it was for no apparent reason. And it's like, since that happened, there's many questions that happen with, as we're marching down the street, we'll have police revving their engines around us as they're falling behind us or whatever. And then we have situations where one of my friends was tackled to the ground out of nowhere. And they kept yelling like, she's starting a riot, she's starting a riot, she's starting a riot. And we're just walking down the street. More recently, a friend More recently in Times Square, a friend of mine was assaulted. A trans woman friend of mine was assaulted, and all the cameras caught everything on tape. And even in New York, and this is where like liberals and Democrats are disappointed, very disappointed in their own people. Even in New York, we're seeing a police force, a government that reviews this tape and sees 3 men assaulting a trans woman. And they're only bringing charges against one of them. And even then, they're like, it's not a hate crime. And I just look at that, and I bring that back to people who explode when someone says all lives matter. And on the one hand, I really want people to hear the intentions behind the phrase all lives matter. And that people actually do want to help. They really do want to care, and they really do want to be involved. And I also hear the anger and the frustration because that frustration isn't about the people who say all lives matter. The frustration isn't about you. I mean, they've got so much anger and being denied justice, and justice denied peace. And it's coming right now, and it's exploding. And I wish there was a way to better understand each other, because they're afraid. People are really, really afraid.
I also have some very good friends. I think I mentioned it, but I've got a good friend. We'll call him Michael because, you know.
Sure.
But he's Black. He's gay. He is conservative.
Mm-hmm.
And he was in, and I talked to him literally right after this incident, but he was in the protest, and it was peaceful up until the point the police were just there. But it was peaceful up until a point where a white woman started to attack the police, spit, and go after them. He was trying to save her, okay? He put his arm out aggressively to pull her back. And the police reacted to push her back. He got hurt. Now, did we blame the police? No. But he said something very interesting to me, which was, you know, it's not her fight. It's not her fight. And I hadn't heard that, you know, from anyone. Let us fight our fight. And what I've seen here, and quite honestly, when we were going down to see one of the protests that turned evil, like really ugly in Scottsdale, honestly, the burning of Pottery Barn, they went to the most expensive mall in Scottsdale, okay? I don't get it, but okay. And the burning and the breaking of Pottery Barn and Apple is what they were really going for. And I have to be honest with you, there was not one Black person among them. Not one. So when I hear the buzzword, quote unquote, white supremacy, the police brutality, you know, all of the things that you've mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
Once I was walking with my daughter, she was 17, and we just wanted to hear, there was Ben Carson. I love Ben Carson. Just all these different people. And the police were holding back this mob that was so frightening. You know, if you look at them on the surface, they were throwing things. You know, it was just, I just kind of looked at them, and my mom, my daughter said, "Why do they hate us so bad?" And I said, "I don't know. Just keep walking. Just don't engage." But afterward, we had to walk to the train to get on it. And people were throwing things at the police. And they were lobbying all kinds of things. And we heard we were there when the flashbang went off.
Mm-hmm.
And the one guy who kicked it back to the officer, and somehow it came back and hit him in the groin. I gotta be honest, I thought it was hilarious, because if you're stupid enough to do that anyway, it was pretty frightening walking to the train and you had every color going there. And we just looked at each other and we're like, wow, we're on this train and we're going away from it. I understand the anger, but I don't know that you get anything by standing there and screaming and burning your own community down. I have a real strong opinion about that.
Sure.
And as far as trans, if you knew who I was, you would totally understand. I am the biggest advocate for trans. I don't care what color you are. I go and march constantly. I pay for myself. I pay my own money for booths at Pride. A good friend of mine is the gal who created the trans flag. She's a vet. And and my best friend is trans. I mean, I can't even tell you how many people in my life are trans. It's crazy. Would I go down and put myself on the line for them? Absolutely. I don't care if they're Black. I don't give a whatever. And if an officer went after them, yeah, I'd have to do something. But I don't think it's just the police officers. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's combination. And I also think that a lot of bad people get away with a lot of bad things and then claim race.
I'm going to take this one bit at a time. And I'm glad you brought up seeing protests that are, that are just all a bunch of angry white people. But even in New York, I live in New York City, and your friend who said, "This is our fight," is interesting, because I've heard different bits on that. But that is something I've heard myself, where people of color look at white people and they're just like, "You're just coming to this?" No, they're just saying, "You're just coming into this. We've been fighting for this for 419 years." And I get that. And I think the flip side of that is the demand of support from the white community, because the white community has more systemic societal power, right? Like, they're like just kind of higher on the totem pole in this country in general.
I guess that's a perception. I don't know if I completely agree with that, but I will say this. I guess I will, but I'll tell you what.
Sure.
If you look at who is funding and giving them all, basically a lot of the money, the major part of the money are old white men, and they're called the Democratic Party. And if you look at who has benefited from it, you look at Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi. This is where I kind of draw the line, because when you make it political like that, you're going to lose a lot of people who would have been allies. And I happen to be an ally. Like I said, I'm kind of an odd duck, because and people do judge people by their look. They do. I mean, I try not to. I mean, when you asked me to do this, I had to think, do I have Black friends? And I'm like, oh yeah, I guess so. I had to actually think about who was Black in my life.
I'm glad you're taking time with those thoughts, though.
Well, because my friend Sophie, you can change her name or whatever. is a neighbor. It didn't occur to me she's Black because she's my friend. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Okay. And I know people get upset if you say you don't see color. But, you know, I had to think about it during this terrible June that was going on. She came to me and said, I'm really fearful for my boys. And I said, why? And she told me an incident about how they were just at the park, you know, just getting out of the, you know, our quarantine, and they were taking pictures, and somebody called on them and said there were Black kids in the park. And so the police drove by and just asked them who they were. But she was scared to death. And I had to say, okay, tell me about your fear. Why are you scared to death? And she told me, I said, okay, I get that. And in some degrees, I have the same fear for my gay son. I have gone to where he worked when he was being brutalized by a manager who called him everything the F word. And I said, document, document, document. You know, we did everything by the book. HR called him and fired him because he was gay. There's no protection. So I guess I don't want specialized protection. I just want what everybody should have, just equally. And so she, my friend, understood, wait, we're kind of in the same boat. We're both fearful for our children. Yes, we are. And while my son might not look on the outward gay, though, when he does drag, he sure does.
Yeah, right. So you know that's an obvious. Being Black is an obvious, but I guess I have a problem with stereotyping, and I guess the unwitting person that thinks they're doing this wonderful thing for the Black community is an ally.
Here's what I feel. That they're being used. Oh, Jill, I'm having a reaction moment. They're being used by the Democratic Party. I'm sorry, and who's the Democratic Party? You're right. It's a bunch of white old men. That's it.
And boy, oh boy, I can't wait to have a Democratic Party that's not a bunch of old white men.
Well, good luck, because they own all the cards.
They own a lot. I mean, I can say the same thing about a lot of the Republican Party too.
Sure you can.
They only use, right?
I would not argue with that. I would not argue. Listen.
We are both annoyed by a bunch of old white dudes who control all the stuff.
And then the memes and the videos going viral of people dying. It just allows every side to be cruel and nasty. And it also, you know what? It devalues life. It devalues people. So the part I kind of have a problem with when I say, okay, Miss, what was her name? The one who's a Marxist who said, we're going to be, anyway, Cartreze, the one that is the head of Black Lives Matter. By the way, you're going to lose a lot of people when you say you want to introduce Marxism again. But we won't go into that. But I would like to ask her personally, tell me what you've done. Let's just say Chicago. What have you done for those children that were shot? How many people in one weekend? 50, 60? Why don't we hear about that on the news? Why are we not talking about what we can do to help those Black lives?
So if you want to talk about all of that, some of the things that Black Lives Matter has done and continues to do is that we now have a whole grassroots uprising of Black-owned businesses that are being taken care of. We have so many different scholarship programs all around the world that are vastly expanding. We have schools that are getting stuff. We have schools that are getting stuff like actual decent supplies for the first time in their lives. And this has been incredibly massive. And this has been incredibly massive uprising that has been that has been by a lot of that has been helped by a lot of that has been helped by a lot of support from all races, particularly white people giving them a voice. And a part of that, and a part of what those protests is making people just a little uncomfortable. So that they actually like listen. So we come back to the rioting.
Well, it's more than uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's more than uncomfortable, and that's where you're going to lose literally a huge portion of the population.
Understood.
Because when you see the burning and the chasing down and the, oh, good, we got a Trump supporter and shot him. I mean, really? I wouldn't say, oh, good, we got a Biden supporter and we shot him. No, this is not who we are supposed to be. And it makes me feel like, in fact, it makes me feel like these political parties are playing us for everything we got, and it's worse than ever. But I get that they have to make their voice, they're frustrated, I get that, but they still have to, everybody, it's being exasperated, it's being played. I think one-on-one people will help people no matter what.
I really, and that has been my experience too. There's, I gotta say, 3 rapid fire tiny things, because I know I've talked a lot and I appreciate you allowing me the time. Thank you. One is that I have, as a person who has protested, I have a lot of frustration with protests simply because it's not legalization. It's not economic incentives for people to actually change, because, and we come back to the old white men in power. It's not economic incentive for them to actually change the laws on the books that take care of people. And that take care of white women. I mean, give them up like what, 20 years ago, you could have had your, give them up like what, 20 years ago, you couldn't have your own checking account or what the heck ever.
No, honey, no. Let's try, no, my mother's 87. No, it wasn't just 20 years ago. See, that's where a lot of this information, no, you're talking about in the 30s.
Okay, cool.
Maybe, they could put you away. My grandfather, I read his first wife's transcript of when she went to the, for lack of a better word, insane asylum.
Sure.
And I said, why did she go? And I'm reading the transcript, and it's like, because she didn't like to clean the house. She didn't like this. It was like, what? Well, I guess I'd be there, but that's back then. No. We've been listening. I marched in the ERA, okay? I still felt like, I still get the same amount of money as that guy. I still didn't get why we were doing it, but I don't know. I just think everyone should be as equal as everyone is given in our Constitution.
Okay. With regards to this police specifically, if we go back to like even 10 years ago, and we have the FBI riding along with the Boston Police Department, and day one, the FBI is riding in the back of the car and basically doing a giant study to check in. They know the FBI is there, and they know why they're there. The cop in the front seat says, let's go catch an N-word right away. Just drops it. Like the long-term problems of allowing the police to police themselves. And the fact that the police were born from organizations like the KKK as slave pistols originally. And like, it hasn't been like, we have this sort of long-standing position with the police, a lot of racist policies or policies that aren't explicitly racist, but result in racist actions. I would love to see a world where the bad apples are actually dealt with. Right now, they're not. But they're put on administrative leave and they come back in a week later.
No, I think that They should wait. Here's been my philosophy before I ever comment on anything. To be honest, if I see something that's oppressed, a narrative that they have going, I always think, what could be the opposite of that?
Mm-hmm.
You know, like Floyd. Is it George Floyd? Sorry if I'm getting names wrong. I'm thinking of that gal.
No, you're good.
And I'm thinking of the gal that was killed in her, what was her name?
Breonna Taylor, yeah.
Thank you. Brianna. And wasn't that did it end up anyway with him and seeing the full video? Was the cop right? No. I mean, I don't agree with him at all. I didn't like the look on his face. It was horrifying. I couldn't watch all of it. It was horrifying. But, and should he be prosecuted? Absolutely. Absolutely, he's a criminal. But is every cop like that? Do they sometimes have to employ physical things to restrain people? Absolutely, absolutely. But then you get the news or whoever coming and going, look, he's restraining this Black person, or he's doing this to the Hispanic. It just feels very like the media just inflames everybody. And why can't we all wait till we see what the facts are?
So, Jill, how do you think we come about change or find a middle ground?
I just can't blame all this on the police.
I can't either.
I just can't blame all this on the police because the numbers aren't there to support it. They're just not. But I don't know. I think you have to do it in a positive manner. I go back to my whole biblical upbringing of mourn with those who mourn.
Sure.
You know, and the whole love one another thing. It sounds really simple and silly, but it's not. I mean, if you see people for who they are, you know, I don't care if they come from the Middle East and they're, you know, got a wielding hatchet or whatever, but you know what? They're all still human and everyone deserves to be treated with dignity. But it isn't just, you know, and I get the whole argument. Well, you know, it's Black on Black crime. It's people on people crime.
Thank you for saying that. Thank you.
Because it's not just white people out searching for people of color. No, if you know of any of these people, let's, you know, from the herd. But other than that,
there was a point in time where in New York, there was a point in time where the New York Times named Martin Luther King as the most violent man in America. And that, like, I think we forget sometimes that a riot, as unfortunate as it may be, is the language of the people who have gone too long being unheard and uncared for. So where I'm like, I'm very much anti-riot and loot. I don't like it. I don't want to see the violence. I don't like it. But I understand why it exists. And I also understand that we have a whole bunch of dumb white people who think they have a vigilante thing that they can just go on now. And I can't stand that either.
But it also opens up other people who have other motivations and other agendas to then jump in and mute that. So it's not just white. I mean, I saw all the white people and all that, but it's other agendas, whether it's Antifa or I hate Trump or I hate this or I hate that. It tends to all blend. And it was interesting that you said the New York Times, look who said that. It was, what?
Oh yeah, the New York Times screws up. They absolutely screw up.
They screw up more times than not. Sorry. Go ahead.
Sure. No, I appreciate you. And I think the only thing I want to say is that, and I have had this conversation with my own mother, a couple of fairly regularly, where she is someone who feels very, she gets very upset when people start using curse words or use abrasive language, is what she calls it. And I think anger and violence, and I fully believe you can make your argument without swearing. I get all of that. I understand that. I think a part of our job is creating this middle ground and supporting everyone is to stop listening to someone just because they are angry and just because they curse and just because they're part of a riot. I think we still need to hear them just as much. There was a group in New York City, not in New York City. No. I mean, I forget where. They brought a statue down. They tore it down. And as they're being taken to jail, one of the women in the group stepped up to the podium, and she was just like, "I didn't enjoy doing this. We didn't. I would much rather be home learning how to make tiramisu." But because of all these injustices continue, and because no one listens, because people like Colin Kaepernick take a knee and the whole nation gets mad at him, instead of actually listening to what he has to say, or seeing all the charity work and amazing stuff he's done and continues to do, even without his job, and all the brilliant other things he's done. They just focus on the fact that they brought a statue down. And all they want to do is be heard and see the world get better. But they feel they need to do what they feel they need to do that to be heard and for people to actually care. We come back to Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King's quote, a riot is the language of the unheard. That's my final thought. I hope your move goes well and your office gets done so you can have some space.
And I'm quiet.
Yeah. Holy dogs, man.
Oh yeah, I got a cell, I know, and now I'm getting attached to all of them, which is really ticking me off, especially the one I call moves.
Well, all the love to you and your family.
Oh, you too. Take care.
That's our cold read of the evening. How are we feeling?
My mind is everywhere. I feel like Kamala Harris with my pad out taking notes.
Was it interesting to kind of switch opinions halfway through?
Yeah, it definitely was, to go from the black woman who was like, she was more left, she was more conservative, to going to this person who's definitely all about Black Lives Matter, who has protested with Black Lives Matter. It was definitely interesting.
Yeah.
But also like the oxymoron of the neutrality with that new perspective, because even though the new Jill that I was reading for wasn't a conservative, definitely more liberal, there were some conservative compassion.
Yes.
When it came to
the second conversation, I feel like they were more willing to have a conversation and to go into it trying to understand the other person. While in the first one, they just wanted to say what they wanted to say and be done with it.
And that's why it was so interesting, because when I was cold reading the first one, just like from an acting perspective and making choices, the text kind of like influenced me to not hear Cartreze, even though Cartreze was just personifying another person's anonymous voice. So yeah, it definitely had its influence just as a cold reader. So imagine how we're influencing our social masses when we speak in various ways, dependent on our choices and how we deliver our messages.
Right.
Woof.
Yeah.
That's so much of what we're really campaigning for with this program and Voices Unheard, Stories Untold is the ability to listen. So for you guys to kind of pick up on those things is just fascinating for me. And having these conversations myself with these 4 people was fascinating for me as well, because all of these people are great people. And it's how do we connect? How do we listen? How do we accept maybe being wrong? How do we accept maybe being right? How do we accept that there might not be right and wrong?
Right.
And then this gray area in between, Any other thoughts?
One of the parts that like really triggered me in the second read, but when the conversation shifted, was the uncomfortable shift in discussing how political parties exploit minorities and oppressed groups within America.
No matter if it's the right or the left, both.
Right, exactly. And how it kind of begs the question, although on totally different opposite sides within, the government itself, they're more buddies than we are as so-called representatives of each party in its own isolated form. So it's just like, who's the joke on? Us? You know what I mean?
Right.
I would like all three of us to just take a big breath. Can we do that together?
Yes, please.
All right, here we go.
Because it was hard reading through like the George and the Brianna, especially, because I had to read the part, oh, what was her name? And immediately I just want to be like, say her name. Like, what is her name? What are you living under a rock?
Right.
So upset. I was so upset. But again, it wasn't me.
Well, guys, I want to thank you both so much for lending your time, talent, and emotion to this weird social experiment that tonight was the first inaugural episode of All Lives Matter or All Lives Matter.
I love that. Inaugural episode.
And I can't wait to have more. I can't wait for you guys to be a part of anything you ever want to be. You know, if you call me, I'll be there. But really, thank you guys both and have a wonderful, wonderful night.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having me.
It's so fun to read with.
I fucking love reading with you.
Now,
I loved it.
I want to talk to the audience and just say thank you guys so much for watching our second segment. I want you guys to support us on YouTube, on Facebook, on Instagram, on Venmo, at Vusu_presents. Anything you do give is allowing us to continue these efforts, is allowing these artists to be appreciated as we are all struggling right now due to the coronavirus pandemic. Please Venmo us at Venmo us at Vusu_presents, and we want to continue these conversations. We want to continue to listen to more people. So if you are someone who wants to have this conversation with someone, please send us an email at vusupresents@gmail.com. DM us. We are always active. We want to include as many people as possible. We will have a new survey for next month, a new topic for next month. We want to be showing and sharing these conversations and this art, these opinions, and these brilliant people's senses of humor. So thank you very much, Nicole.
And I was worried, right? But this is far from funny.
We're going to move on to our third segment, which is a beautiful monologue. But before we do that, I want to tell you guys that we look very much forward to our next episode, where the topic is coronavirus is a hoax.
Coronavirus.
For January. But on that note, please support us. We support you. We love you all. Thank you very much. And enjoy our third segment of the podcast, Wrote That.
Keep your mask on. That's fun.
A monologue from Rachel, a play written by Angelina Weld Grimke. Written and produced in 1916, Rachel was one of the first plays by a Black biracial female playwright, highlighting the Black American experience.
I'm 23, and I'm old. You're 32 and you old. Tom's 23, and he's old.
My dear is 60, and she said once she is much older than that. She is.
We are all plighted. We are all accursed.
All of us, everywhere.
Whose skins are dark.
We whose skins are dark. Lives are blasted by the white man's prejudice.
My little Jimmy, 7 years old, that's all, is blighted too. In a year or two, at best, he will be made old by suffering.
By suffering. 1 week ago, today, some white boys.
Much older and larger than my baby, Jimmy. As he was coming home from school, they called him nigger.
They chased him through the streets, calling him nigger, nigger, nigger.
Nigger, nigger, nigger.
One boy threw stones at him. There's still a bruise on his low back where one struck him. That will get well.
But
they bruised his soul. But they bruised his soul.
But they bruised his soul. But they bruised his soul.
That will never, ever get well.
He asked me what nigger meant.
I made light of the whole thing, laughed it off.
Laughed it off.
He went to ask his little playmates, naturally.
The oldest of them is 9. They knew. Poor little things. And they told him.
The last couple nights, he has been dreaming about these boys. And he always awakes in the dark, afraid. Afraid of the now and afraid of the future.
I've seen that look of deadly fear in the eyes of other little children.
In the eyes of other little children.
I know what it is myself. I was 12 when some big boys chased me and called me names.
I never left the house afterwards without being afraid. I was afraid in the streets, in the school, in the church, everywhere, always. Afraid of being hurt.
Afraid of being hurt? I was afraid of being hurt, and I was not afraid in vain.
If it nearly kills me to hear my Jimmy crying, do you think I could stand it when my own child, flesh of my flesh, blood of my blood, learn the same reason for weeping? Do you?
Ever since I fell here a week ago, I am afraid to go to sleep.
But every time I do,
For every time
my children come
my children
and beg me, weeping,
and beg me,
not
weeping,
to bring
not
them
to
here
bring them here
to suffer.
And tonight they came when I was awake.
I promised them again. Now by Jimmy's bed. I have damned my soul to all eternity, and if I do.
And John, dear John, you see, it can never be all the beautiful, beautiful things you have told me about. No, it could never be now.
It can never be. Now. Dear, this is goodbye.